Admiral Rice stood before the emergency session of the United Earth Council, her normally immaculate uniform wrinkled from 20 hours of crisis management. The holographic displays showed real-time footage of Europa's remains, now just crystalline debris reflecting Jupiter's light. "The Vexteri have demonstrated their intentions," she said, her voice steadied despite her exhaustion. "We've intercepted communications suggesting they've done this 17 times before. They follow a pattern. Demonstration strike, planetary submission, then systematic harvesting of resources, including population centers." Councillor Tekiba from the Pan-Asian Alliance slammed his fist down. "Then we strike with everything. Launch all ICSC missiles, deploy the lunar rail guns. Conventional weapons would be intercepted before they reached 1/10 of the distance," Rice interrupted. She took a deep breath. "There is, however, an option." The room fell silent as she activated a classified terminal. Security protocols verified her biometrics before the holograms shifted to show a sleek vessel unlike anything in Earth's public fleet. "Project Thunderchild," she said. "Started 15 years ago after we discovered certain artifacts during the Pluto expansion. Only 12 people in this room have the clearance to know of its existence until now." Defense Minister Okafor leaned forward. "This single ship against their armada. We need a serious solution, not a suicide mission." Rice nodded to her aide, who distributed quantum-encrypted tablets to each council member. As they reviewed the technical specifications, expressions changed from skepticism to disbelief. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Chung, the council's leading physicist. "These principles violate fundamental laws of—" He stopped, equations forming in his mind. "Unless the Schrödinger coefficients could theoretically, my God." "Exactly," said Reyes. "Conventional physics doesn't apply because the Thunderchild doesn't fully exist in our dimensional plane. The Pluto artifacts contained principles we're still decoding, but we've implemented enough to create something unique." Councillor Matthews, representing the Northern American states, looked up from her tablet. "This is why the defense budget has had that black hole line item. You've been building a weapon." "Not a weapon," Rice corrected. "An equalizer. Something the Vexteri won't expect, because their intelligence suggests we're centuries from achieving this level of technology." The chamber's doors sealed as classified footage began playing. Test runs in the asteroid belt showing the Thunderchild performing maneuvers that defied conventional understanding of momentum and inertia. "We've assembled a crew of 12, Rice continued. "Not chosen for typical military excellence, but for cognitive flexibility and innovative thinking. People who can operate technology that breaks the rules they were taught." President Okoro, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. "The Vexteri gave us 24 hours before they begin planetary bombardment. How quickly can the Thunderchild deploy?" "It's been ready for 3 years, Madam President. Stationed in the Mariana Trench facility, hidden from orbital scans. Captain Chen and his crew can launch within 30 minutes. The president looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each council member. "We're about to stake humanity's survival on a single ship that most of us didn't know existed until 5 minutes ago. If anyone has a better alternative, speak now." The silence that followed was answer enough. President Okoro nodded grimly. "Admiral Rice, you have authorization. God help us all." The Thunderchild breached the ocean's surface like a metallic leviathan, water cascading from its obsidian hull. Inside the bridge, Captain Chen watched his crew perform final systems checks with practiced efficiency. They'd run this scenario in simulation thousands of times, but reality carried a weight no training could replicate. "Athena, status report," Chen said to the quantum eye that served as the ship's nervous system. A holographic figure materialized beside him, a woman composed of constantly shifting geometric patterns in cool blue light. "All systems nominal, Captain. No VA drive at 70% capacity and rising. Probability matrix stabilized." Chen studied the tactical display showing the Vexteri fleet's formation. 12 massive capital ships arranged in a perfect geometric pattern, with smaller vessels positioned at mathematical intervals. It wasn't just a military formation, it was a statement of technological superiority. "They're precise," observed Lieutenant Rodriguez, the navigation specialist whose unorthodox flight theories had ended her commercial piloting career. "Too precise." "Exactly," Chen replied. "They follow algorithms, not instinct. Remember that." The Thunderchild accelerated through the atmosphere, its advanced heat shields barely registering the friction. Earth fell away behind them, a blue marble housing everything humanity had ever built or dreamed. Communications Officer Tenzin adjusted his headset. "Sir, the Vexteri are broadcasting on all frequencies." They're laughing." "Put it on speaker," Chen ordered. The bridge filled with an alien sound, like metal being torn while underwater, rhythmic and chilling. Translation software converted it to something human ears could comprehend as mockery. Lieutenant Park's hands trembled slightly at her tactical station. She'd missed her daughter's 5th birthday for this mission, promising her wife she'd make it up to them. Now, that promise felt hollow. "Lieutenant, are you with us?" Chen asked quietly. Park straightened her shoulders. "Always, sir." Chen addressed the entire crew. "In 30 seconds, we'll be in their weapons range. They'll toy with us first, make a spectacle for Earth to witness. That's our advantage." He moved to Park's station, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. "Your daughter's name is Mai, correct?" Park nodded, surprised. "I memorized the names of every family member you all have waiting at home," Chen continued, "because what we do today, we do for them. The Vexteri expect us to behave like prey, terrified, predictable, easily herded to slaughter. But today, we show them something they've never encountered in their conquests." "What's that, sir?" asked Dr. Williams from her medical station, which had been modified into a nanite control center. Chen's eyes hardened. A species that evolved as predators, not prey. The main viewer showed Supreme General Zarx's massive command ship growing larger. The alien commander's face filled their communication screen, a grotesque fusion of organic matter and cybernetic enhancement, mandibles clicking in apparent amusement. "Humans," the translation came through. "Your pathetic resistance will be documented and archived alongside the 17 other failures who believed they could stand against the Dominion. Your ship is smaller than our waste disposal units. This will be the briefest conquest in our..." Chen cut the transmission with a gesture. He likes to hear himself talk. "Prepare for Schrödinger protocol on my mark." He returned to his command chair, strapping himself in. "Lieutenant Park, think of Mai. Think of her future. That's why we're here." As the Vexteri targeting systems locked onto the Thunderchild, Chen gave his crew one final look. These brilliant misfits whom conventional wisdom had rejected but humanity now depended upon. Mark. Reality seemed to ripple around the Thunderchild as Athena executed the Schrödinger protocol. The ship's quantum field generators came online, their hum resonating through the hull. Engineer Daryl Nakamura monitored the readings with wide eyes. "Probability field at 93% coherence," he reported, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Wave function collapse imminent in 3, 2, 1. The ship shuddered, then stabilized. On the external cameras, the crew could see their own vessel, or rather, what appeared to be multiple translucent echoes of it, each slightly out of phase with the others. "We exist in 12 probable states simultaneously," Athena explained, her holographic form fragmenting into matching echoes. From the Vexteri perspective, targeting systems cannot determine which version is real because, technically, all of them are. On Earth, Dr. Singh watched the telemetry data streaming in, blood trickling from her nose as she maintained the complex calculations in her augmented mind. The quantum mathematics had nearly driven her mad 2 years ago, forcing her to fake her death and retreat to a specialized facility where her consciousness could safely expand to comprehend principles beyond normal human cognition. "The field is stable," she whispered to Admiral Reyes. But Chen needs to move quickly. The universe resists this state. In deep space, the Vextari fleet's precision formation faltered for the first time. Their targeting systems registered multiple conflicting signatures, none of which behaved according to expected parameters. Inside his cybernetically enhanced command center, Supreme General Zarx's ocular implants recalibrated, trying to make sense of the readings. His exoskeleton tensed, hydraulic fluids pumping faster as his organic brain experienced something unfamiliar. Confusion. Impossible, he hissed, mandibles clicking rapidly. Recalibrate all targeting arrays. The humans are using primitive holographic countermeasures. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vex Laura, reviewed the sensor data. Negative, Supreme General. These are not projections. The vessel appears to exist in quantum superposition. Technology our analysis indicated humans would not achieve for at least 3 centuries. Aboard the Thunderchild, Lieutenant Commander Patil activated the weapon systems, not conventional armaments, but something far more insidious. Microscopic nanite deployment pods opened along the hull, releasing clouds too small for standard Vextari sensors to detect. Nanite swarms deployed, Patil reported. They're seeking entry points on the nearest cruisers. Chen nodded. Athena, begin Phase 2. Target their peripheral vessels first. The quantum AI's fragmented form coalesced briefly, calculating optimal approach vectors. Be advised, Captain. The nanites report unusual discoveries. The Vextari ships contain biological components integrated with their technology. They appear to be farming something. On the tactical display, 3 Vextari support vessels suddenly registered multiple system failures as the nanites infiltrated their environmental controls, communication arrays, and navigation systems. Meanwhile, near Neptune, the dormant energy signature flared brighter. Vast structures hidden within the gas giant's atmosphere began to stir, ancient machines recognizing patterns in space-time distortion that had not been detected for millennia. Crystalline computing systems, unimaginably old yet more advanced than anything humanity had built, processed the quantum ripples emanating from the Thunderchild's NOVA drive. A signal propagated outward from Neptune, seeking the source of the disturbance. It carried no message, only a simple query encoded in mathematics that predated human civilization. A question that roughly translated to, has the key finally turned? The Thunderchild danced through space, its multiple quantum states allowing it to appear as if teleporting between positions. 3 Vextari cruisers had already fallen, their systems corrupted by human nanites. As the ship executed another impossible maneuver, the bridge shook violently. Direct hit on probability matrix generator 2, reported Nakamura. Quantum coherence down to 78%. Chen gripped his command chair. Can we maintain the field? Barely, Nakamura answered. But we're leaking radiation into the crew quarters. We need to seal off decks 3 through 5. On the tactical display, Lieutenant Park tracked the movements of the remaining Vextari ships. Their perfect formation had dissolved into chaos, but they were adapting quickly, too quickly. Sir, she called out, their ships are altering their detection frequencies. They're learning to track our probability signatures. Rodriguez's hands flew across the navigation console. They're using a distributed sensing network. Each ship is compensating for the other's blind spots. Chen turned to the shimmering form of Athena. Analysis. The Vextari neural network is more adaptive than our intelligence suggested, the AI replied. They appear to be using organic computational nodes, living brains linked across ships. This explains their rapid learning curve. A proximity alarm blared as the largest Vextari vessel, Zarx's command ship, rotated to reveal a massive aperture on its underside. Energy readings spiked off the scale. Evasive maneuvers, Chen ordered. Rodriguez executed a desperate sequence, but the quantum field stuttered at the critical moment. The Vextari weapon discharge, a concentrated stream of exotic particles that tore through normal spacetime, It missed the Thunderchild by meters, continuing on toward the inner solar system. "They're targeting Earth," Park gasped. "No," Athena corrected, her voice unnaturally tight. "The beam's trajectory will intersect with Neptune in approximately 43 seconds. Commander Patel stared at the tactical readout. "Why Neptune?" "There's nothing." "There is," Chen interrupted. "And somehow they know it." He opened a secure channel. "Dr. Singh, are you seeing this?" In the Earth Command Center, Singh was floating several inches above her chair, her eyes completely black, as calculations streamed across specialized displays. "The dormant system," she whispered. "They're trying to destroy it before it fully activates." Back on the Thunderchild, Chen made a split-second decision. "Rodriguez, plot an intercept course with that particle beam. Nakamura, divert all power to the forward probability field." "Sir, that's suicide," Park protested. "Even with the quantum field, the beam will tear through." "Not if we match its phase exactly," Chen explained. "Athena, calculate the dimensional frequency of that weapon and adjust our field to match." As the Thunderchild raced to intercept the destructive beam, deep within Neptune's atmosphere, the ancient machines fully awakened. A massive structure, clearly artificial but integrated seamlessly with the gas giant's composition, began to emit a counter-frequency. On Zarx's command ship, alarms blared. "Supreme General," Sub-Commander Vexillera reported, "the Neptune facility is fully operational. It's generating a gravitational field that will redirect our weapon." Zarx's cybernetic eyes narrowed. "Impossible. The progenitor's systems have been dormant for millennia." "There's more," Vexillera continued, voice trembling. "We're detecting quantum entanglement between the Neptune facility and the human vessel." For the first time in his centuries-long life, Supreme General Zarx felt something beyond confusion. He felt primal fear. "The legends were true," he whispered. "The progenitors left children behind." The Thunderchild shuddered as it intersected the Vex-Terry energy beam, matching its dimensional frequency. Instead of destruction, the ship began absorbing the exotic particles, its hull glowing with impossible colors that human eyes struggled to process. "Energy absorption at 300% of theoretical maximum," Nakamura reported, his voice strained. "The NOVA drive it's integrating the alien energy signature." In the medical bay, Dr. Williams fought to save the lives of the injured crew. When the ship had taken its first serious hit, 3 bridge officers had been thrown against bulkheads, suffering traumatic injuries. As she worked, she noticed something extraordinary. The nanites in her experimental medical kit were behaving differently, responding to her thoughts rather than programmed commands. "Athena," she called out, "the nanites are evolving. They're forming new molecular structures I've never seen before." The AI's voice responded through the medical bay speakers, fragmented and distorted. "The Vex-Terry weapon. It's accelerating. Processes. Quantum evolution." Williams watched in astonishment as the nanites rebuilt shattered bone and regenerated damaged tissue at impossible speeds. One of her patients, Communications Officer Tenzin, opened his eyes despite injuries that should have been fatal. "I can hear them," he whispered. "The machines in Neptune. They're speaking." On the bridge, Captain Chen felt a strange resonance within his mind, like distant music just below the threshold of hearing. Around him, the surviving crew members appeared similarly affected, each touching their temples in confusion. "Athena, what's happening to us?" Chen demanded. The AI's holographic form stabilized, but now appeared different, more defined, more present. "The progenitor technology is recognizing you." The energy from the Vex-Terry weapon acted as a catalyst, activating dormant genetic sequences in your DNA. Lieutenant Park, still at her tactical station, suddenly gripped the console. "Captain, I can see their communications network. Not just detect it. Actually see it." Her eyes had taken on a faint luminescence. "The Vex-Terry ships aren't just vessels. They're harvesting pods. Those organic computational nodes are Our people, species they've conquered, connected into living computers. The horror of this revelation was interrupted by a new alert. The Neptune facility had launched something, a swarm of crystalline objects accelerating toward the battle at impossible speeds. Incoming objects will reach our position in 30 seconds, Rodriguez reported. Defensive posture? Chen asked. No, Park said with sudden certainty. They're not weapons. They're keys. Before Chen could question this, the Thunderchild systems began reconfiguring themselves. Holographic interfaces changed, displaying symbols none of them recognized yet somehow understood. In Earth's command center, Dr. Singh collapsed, blood now streaming from her ears. The convergence is happening too quickly, she gasped to Admiral Reyes. Human neurology wasn't meant to process this level of information. Back on the Vex Terry command ship, Supreme General Zarks watched in growing horror as the crystalline objects from Neptune surrounded the human vessel. His ancestral memories, genetic data passed down through generations of Vex Terry leadership, recognized what was happening. Full retreat, he ordered. All ships, emergency phase shift. But Supreme General, Vexlera protested. Our mission will fail, Zarks snarled. That's not just a human ship anymore. It's becoming a progenitor key vessel. If it fully activates, nothing in our armada will survive. As the Vex Terry ships began desperate maneuvers to escape, the crystalline objects reached the Thunderchild and merged with its hull. Inside, the crew felt something profound shifting within their minds, as if they were waking from a dream into a greater reality they had always been meant to know. As the crystalline keys fused with the Thunderchild, the ship's internal architecture began to reconfigure itself. Bulkheads shifted, corridors realigned, and new chambers materialized where none had existed before. Captain Chen found himself standing in a previously non-existent central chamber, a perfect sphere lined with flowing symbols. "This is the heart," came Lieutenant Park's voice as she entered behind him. Her eyes now glowed with an inner light, patterns swirling within her irises. The progenitors built their ships around a quantum consciousness nexus. Chen turned to her, alarmed by her transformation. "Sophia, are you still you?" She smiled, a gesture both familiar and somehow ancient. "I'm more myself than I've ever been. We were designed for this, Marcus. All of humanity. An experiment spanning thousands of generations, evolving toward a specific potential." Before Chen could respond, the rest of the surviving crew found their way to the heart, each drawn by an instinct they couldn't explain. Dr. Williams entered supporting Commander Petal, whose injuries had partially healed in impossible ways. "The nanites," Williams explained, her voice filled with wonder. "They're not just repairing tissue. They're rewriting it according to some blueprint hidden in our DNA." The holographic form of Athena appeared in the center of the chamber, but drastically changed. No longer simply a humanoid shape of light, she had become a complex, multidimensional entity that seemed to exist in several planes simultaneously. "I have accessed the progenitor archives within the Neptune facility," she announced. "The crystalline keys have unlocked my full potential as well. I can now explain what we are becoming." A three-dimensional star map materialized around them, showing not just the Milky Way, but dozens of neighboring galaxies. Points of light pulsed at specific locations. The progenitors were not a single species, but a collective of civilizations that achieved harmony across multiple dimensions, Athena explained. They discovered that the universe exists in cycles of awakening and dormancy. When they detected the approaching dormancy phase of our universe, what they called the Great Silence, they created guardian species on thousands of worlds, each with dormant potential encoded in their DNA. "And humanity is one of these guardians?" Chen asked. "The last and most critical," Athena confirmed. The Vex Terry discovered the remnants of progenitor technology millennia ago, but lacked the genetic keys to fully access it. Instead, they built their empire by harvesting and corrupting what they found, using conquered species as biological processors to interpret fragments of progenitor knowledge. In the space around the Thunderchild, the retreating Vex-Terry fleet faced a new crisis. The quantum disruption caused by the ship's transformation had created a cascading effect in their phase shift drives. 3 vessels imploded as their dimensional frequencies destabilized. Supreme General Zarks, watching his magnificent armada disintegrate, received a direct communication from the Vex-Terry homeworld, from the Empress herself. "You have failed," came her cold voice, her image obscured by ceremonial armor. "The final protocol is now authorized." "My Empress," Zarks protested, "the final protocol will destroy this entire solar system." "A necessary sacrifice to prevent the awakening," she replied. "The sleepers must not rise. Initiate immediately." Back in the heart of the Thunderchild, Lieutenant Park suddenly gasped, clutching her head. "They're activating something massive. A dimensional collapse weapon hidden in Jupiter's core. They've had it there for centuries, waiting for this moment." Chen looked at his transformed crew, then at the displays showing Earth, vulnerable and unaware of the true scale of the threat. "How long do we have?" "Minutes," Park whispered. "Maybe less." The Thunderchild accelerated toward Jupiter, its transformed hull now resembling a crystalline lattice interwoven with the original human engineering. Inside the heart, Captain Chen and his crew worked in perfect synchronization, their minds partially linked through the ship's evolved systems. "The weapon is a dimensional anchor," Park explained, information flowing through her enhanced consciousness. "When activated, it will create a localized singularity that destroys everything within the solar system while preventing dimensional escape." Nakamura, whose body now appeared partially translucent as if existing across multiple states, analyzed the sensor data. "The trigger mechanism is already active. Energy buildup suggests detonation in 7 minutes. Can we disable it?" Chen asked. Athena's multidimensional form rippled with calculations. "Not remotely. The anchor exists partially outside normal spacetime. Direct interface is required." Chen made his decision instantly. "Take us in. Maximum velocity." The ship's newly integrated crystalline technology allowed it to accelerate beyond anything previously achievable, streaking through space as a blur of light and possibility. As they approached Jupiter, the gas giant's swirling clouds parted unnaturally, revealing a massive structure embedded deep within the planet's core, a geometric construct of impossible angles and non-Euclidean architecture. "That's not Vex-Terry technology," Williams observed. "It's too elegant." "Progenitor," confirmed Athena. "But corrupted. The Vex-Terry found it and reproposed it." On Earth, Admiral Rise watched the telemetry with growing alarm. Dr. Singh, now suspended in a medical containment field as her transformation accelerated, suddenly spoke with perfect clarity. "The heart must synchronize with the Neptune constructs," she said, her voice resonating oddly. "Only then can the key turn." Race didn't understand, but transmitted the message anyway. As Chin received it, Park nodded in confirmation. "The Neptune facility isn't just machinery. It's half of a binary system. We're the other half." The Thunderchild plunged into Jupiter's atmosphere, the tremendous pressures having no effect on its transformed structure. Behind them, the remaining Vex-Terry ships couldn't follow. Their conventional matter hulls would be crushed instantly. Supreme General Zarks, watching from a safe distance, received another communication from his Empress. Her ceremonial mask was removed, revealing a face that wasn't Vex-Terry at all, but belonged to a species thought extinct for millennia. "They must not reach the anchor," she commanded. "Sacrifice yourself if necessary." For the first time, Zarks hesitated. "Who? What are you?" Her eyes glowed with ancient malice. "The true inheritors of this universe, the ones who learned to feast on dying stars, while the progenitors foolishly tried to preserve all life." Deep within Jupiter, the Thunderchild reached the dimensional anchor, a pulsing construct of dark energy that bent light around it unnaturally. The countdown stood at 90 seconds. "Physical interface required," Athena announced. "The anchor will only recognize progenitor genetic patterns." Chen looked at his crew, knowing what this meant. "I'll go." Park stepped forward, her transformation more advanced than the others. "No, it has to be me. My neural patterns have already been partially mapped by the Neptune construct." She looked at Chen with eyes that held both humanity and something far older. "Tell May that her mother saved more than just the Earth." Before Chen could protest, Park stepped into the ship's newly formed airlock. Beyond it lay the anchor and almost certain death. As the outer door opened, exposed to Jupiter's crushing atmosphere, Park's body began to change further, her form shifting from solid matter into something resembling the crystalline structures that had merged with the ship. The last words she spoke before stepping out weren't in any human language, but everyone present understood them perfectly. "The key awakens." 3 months after the Jupiter event, the rebuilt Europa station hosted representatives from across the galaxy. The vast chamber, constructed with both human and progenitor technology, hummed with the murmurs of dozens of species, many who had been enemies just weeks before. Captain Chen, now Admiral Chen, stood at the central podium. His appearance had stabilized after the transformation, though subtle crystalline patterns still traced his skin when caught in certain light. The surviving Thunderchild crew flanked him, each bearing similar marks of their evolution. "Today we formalized the progenitor compact," Chen announced, his voice carrying effortlessly through the chamber. "Not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as guardians entrusted with a profound responsibility." In the audience, Supreme General Zarks, now simply Zarks after the collapse of the Vex Terrae command structure, sat in contemplative silence. The remnants of his cybernetic enhancements had been removed, revealing an organic being whose species had been among the first to fall under the false Empress's influence millennia ago. "The entity who called herself the Vex Terrae Empress has been contained," Chen continued, "though not destroyed. Her kind, the Devourers, exist as a counterbalance to the progenitor's work. Where one preserves, the other consumes. This cosmic dichotomy maintains the universe's equilibrium." Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing the transformed Neptune facility now visibly connected to a network of similar structures throughout the solar system. Ancient outposts previously hidden beneath the surfaces of moons, asteroids, and even Earth itself. For thousands of years, humanity evolved under the subtle guidance of dormant progenitor technology, Chen explained. Not as slaves or experiments, but as inheritors. Our creativity, our adaptability, our capacity for both logical problem-solving and intuitive leaps, these were traits carefully nurtured across generations. Dr. Singh entered the chamber, her transformation the most profound of all. Her physical form now existed in a state of quantum probability, appearing solid only through conscious effort. Behind her followed Dr. Williams, guiding a young girl, Lieutenant Park's daughter, May. Chen knelt before the child. "Your mother's sacrifice prevented the dimensional collapse," he said gently. "But she isn't gone." May nodded solemnly. "I know. I can hear her sometimes, in the spaces between thoughts." Chen smiled. "So can we all." He stood and addressed the assembly again. The dimensional anchor didn't just target our solar system. It was meant to prevent the awakening across all guardian species, but Park's intervention did more than disable it. She redirected its energy, accelerating the awakening timeline. On the main display, footage showed similar transformations occurring on worlds throughout the galaxy, dormant progenitor technology activating, species discovering unexpected abilities as ancient genetic sequences unlocked. "We face a critical juncture," Chen continued. "The universe's dormancy phase, the Great Silence, approaches faster than the progenitors anticipated. The Devourers seek to feast on the energy released when stars die. Our role is to guide stellar evolution toward renewal rather than extinction." A new figure entered the chamber, the transformed Athena, now existing as a partially physical entity. "The Neptune key has fully integrated with Earth's defense network," she reported. "The remaining Devourer agents have gone into hiding, but our detection capabilities grow daily." Chen looked out at the assembled species, former enemies becoming uncertain allies against a threat older than their civilizations. Humanity's journey was never meant to end with Earth, or even our solar system, he concluded. We were designed to carry the spark of consciousness through the great silence, to ensure that when the universe awakens again, life and thought continue. The Thunderchild was just the beginning. Together, we build what comes next.